What's up, everybody? My name is Piers Austin, and I am from Multi-Continental Wrestling Alliance. And this week's episode of Shooting the Shit Uncensored, I am going to be joined by Brian Milonas. He is one half of the tag team known as the Bouncers, where you can find him and his tag team partner, the Beer City Bruiser, in NWA and also Ring of Honor. But before I bring him out, I just wanted to give a special mention and a special thanks to Wrestling Maniacs, Brothers of the Belt, Wrestling Review Society, Generational Wrestling Society, Love Those Wrestling Belts, WCW Nation, Defend Deathmatch Wrestling International for allowing us to stream in their groups. And I also want to spend a special shout out to my good friend Michael Mados, who makes all the cool artwork and designs for our show. Also, just want to give a special shout out to the sponsors of Shooting the Shit Uncensored, Signal Studios, who is a recording studio. And they also make music and beats and stuff like that. So if you're a professional wrestler, you want a song made, these are the guys to go to. Or if you just want to get some instrumentals or whatever you need, hit up Signal Studios. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff. Also, Mayan Belts. So Mayan Belts are the premium belt maker in professional wrestling belts. They do some amazing replicas. If you want to get in contact, you want to get something made, they make a great AEW belt. They also make some great belts with smoking skulls, big eagles, winged eagles, whatever you want, they can make it for you, and they do an absolutely phenomenal job. And also A-Rock Designs. A-Rock Designs is a company run by my good friend Ashley Rodriguez. She does cups, tumblers, T-shirts, keychains, all that good stuff. If you want something on it, she can design it and make it really personalized. So I've got something coming very soon. But anyway, guys, let's get into it. I'm going to bring out the man himself, Brian Milonas. What's up, man?
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Nah, man. Welcome to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. It's an honor to have you on. And, we've been trying to organize this for a little bit, man. It's been a few weeks. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, we already talked. You're in the future, so this is very hard to coordinate here. I mean, does it look any better in the future? Does tomorrow look any better than today?
Look, man, it's nice and sunny outside. It's the birds are singing. It's good fun and good times. So
it's nighttime here.
yeah. So it's funny. I got quite a few American friends from obviously doing the show and obviously being in all these wrestling groups as well. And it's always amazing to sort of talk to the guys from all over the world. But anyway, Brian, look, as I said, thank you very much for coming on. It's an honor to have you here. Now, Brian, I was doing a little bit of research, and correct me if I'm wrong, but were you trained by Killer Kowalski?
Yeah, I was. So I went to his school. I mean, Walter was older at that point, so not really all that active in the ring as far as like hands-on training. So the actual head trainer was a guy by the name of Mike Hollow, and Walter would be there on Saturdays, and a lot of great times with Walter. Walter was he was about 74, 75 when he passed away. So he was, by the time I'd started training was late 60s already. And all hunched over, but still just a mountain of a human being, and could still tie you up in knots. He loved his shoot holds. He loved his, pressure point type stuff. I remember we filmed an episode of this show called No Opportunity Wasted. And the host of, I don't know if you guys get the Amazing Race there from the U.S.
Yeah, but we have the Australian version as well of that.
Oh, okay. So the host, Phil Kogan, I think it's how you say his last name. So he was all like pompous because here's this old man, and Walter's hands were massive, but they were like arthritic. They had like this. I mean, they were the most massive hands I'd ever seen. But he would do something where like he said, "I could take you down with one finger," and he would take his thumb and he'd put one hand behind somebody's heel, and then he'd take his thumb and take it into a pressure point in your shin and take you down. So Phil Kogan kind of laughed in his face and wow, yeah, whatever. And then Walter just comes over and takes him right down and puts him on his ass, and all of us laughed at this pompous dink.
Yeah, you know what? It's like guys who I think don't respect professional wrestling, and I think you probably would have seen a lot of them in your early stages of your career, and especially being around training schools as well, they probably look and see it on TV and think, yeah, I can do that. But they get in there, and professional wrestling is a different beast, man. And if you don't respect it, you get in there, someone with Killer Kowalski, man, he's going to make you respect it.
Yeah, I mean, respect is the key word, and that was something that was instilled in me really early. It was instilled in me very early that it's a privilege to be in the wrestling business. It's not a right. You have to earn your spots. You have to earn your respect, and those are things that I think I've taken with me, all throughout my journey. But really, it started with Walter. You think of pro wrestling in the New England area is really, exploded over the years. And then you think of all the guys who have come out of New England, who are currently working for national promotions, whether it's myself, Flip Gordon, Dominic Dijakovic, Ivar, Tommaso Ciampa, Kofi Kingston, Mike Kanellis. It's all because of the fact that Walter Kowalski decided in the late 70s that he was going to settle down in the Boston area and open up a pro wrestling school. I mean, whether or not you directly trained with him or not, all the lineage goes back to him. So he was an amazing person. He's a guy who, I don't know if the young guys of today even know who he is, but he was somebody who was ahead of his time. The way he could talk on the mic, the way he went in the ring. Walter is a guy who would have been a main eventer no matter if the era he came up in, or whether it was the Attitude Era or whether it was the current day. Walter would have been a main eventer in any era, and it was a main eventer wherever he went. So the fact that I got to spend a lot of time around him, and went on a road trip to Canada with him. That was, if you want me to elaborate, I can tell this story.
Yeah, no, please do. Let's get into it.
So it's myself, and a lot of my stories, if we talk about, especially my early career, will probably involve Ivar / Hansen / the former Handsome Johnny of the Viking Raiders. He and I started together and have come up through the ranks together, but we were booked up by this promotion in Quebec City, Canada, who also they booked Walter as well. So we were in charge of getting Walter up there. We had to drive Walter and his wife up there. So Ivar, I'll call him Ivar for the purposes. I think that's probably how most people know him now. He had lost his license, so he couldn't drive. So I had to drive the whole way. So somebody had actually given me like the heads up of be careful when you're driving with Walter, because if you speed, he'll get really upset. So here I am, I'm driving, we're leaving from probably, I think we met at the wrestling school in North Andover, Mass. And we're going up through New Hampshire and into Canada. And Walter is, I want to say it's like a 6.5-hour drive. And he's watching the speedometer the entire time, like just sitting in the driver's seat. He has like these, you ever seen like the sunglasses that like go over regular glasses?
Yeah.
So he has those on, but he's like, so this is him, and he's sitting there and he just has his head turned ever so slightly, and he's literally watching the speedometer the entire time. Now he's doing this, and he's talking, and then all of a sudden he would just go, and we're literally just about to pass an exit. Like, get off here! I need to piss, and I'd have to like fight traffic to get over and get off, and so the first thing he does, we get to the Canadian border, and at this point I'm in my probably my early 20s. I've never been to Canada. At this point, you didn't even need a passport; you just needed your driver's license. So Walter used to give up these little like. They weren't even like 8x10s. They were like 4x6 pictures of him. And he gives it to me, and he just says, "Here, give this to the guard." And I was like, okay. So I give it to the guard. The guard is completely weirded out, pulls us over. So now he's, he doesn't know what's up, but he thinks something's suspicious. They ask us, has anybody been arrested recently? Well, Ivar raises his hand. It was nothing serious. He had a suspended license. He didn't know he had a suspended license. It was the most minor of minor things.
Yeah.
Not like he was like a hardened criminal. He just had a suspended license and didn't realize it. It was like parking tickets or something. But he had to tell them. So now they got us in the building. They're searching our car. And then finally, after, I want to say 15, 20 minutes of this nonsense, Kowalski just explodes. God damn it! I am Killer Kowalski, and he is just cutting a promo
Jesus.
for everybody to hear. A supervisor comes over, realizes who Walter is, because Walter was a dual citizen. He was a citizen of the United States and Canada, and so the security guard now the supervisor comes, and the supervisor is mad, not at Walter, but at the guy who pulled us over. We were on the road like 5 minutes after that with an apology. So that's what it's like when you travel with somebody with the name of Killer Kowalski, who got us out of having our car searched and everything like that, because of who he was.
Yeah, right. So we're just going to you know what? Like, Killer Kowalski sounds like the sort of guy that would be awesome. Like, there would be so many cool stories to tell about him. He just seems like he'd be the sort of guy, like, if he got pissed off, he would just like snap.
Oh, he would. It's so funny. So there were certain things that just really piss him off in wrestling. One of them was anybody who did a drop down. And it's funny because we would, those of us who had been around Walter for a while, there were certain spots and things like that you just knew not to do. Like, you just don't do certain things around Walter, because Walter was very set in his ways. He had a very old school mentality about it. So we'd always kind of set up a newer guy for to do a drop down. They do a drop down. He immediately would sit up from his chair and say, fake, fake, fake. You're just screaming at the top of his lungs. Oh my God. He was, and then he's a vegetarian. He would drink this. He always had like this carrot juice, and it smelled like ungodly. And he would always try to get people to drink it. Now, I never did, because just the smell of it was just like, I was like, I don't know how. Like, I think it was like garlic and turmeric and all these other like.
Was it a rib, or was it like legit? That's what his drinking choice was.
Oh no, he would drink it, and it was in like these old like orange juice carafes, or I think that's how you say the word. Like the Tropicana used to come in like these glass, bottle type things, and he'd always have it in that. And it was what he would drink. It's what he drank. Like, it was this carrot juice mixture with like all this other health stuff in it, and he would just always try to get people to try it. Yeah, and then so you'd see like, and this is everybody would have their meals, or we'd have class from 10 to 2 on Saturday, so we usually break for a few minutes. Everybody eat lunch. So everybody has like their food they cooked at home, turkey and brown rice and things like that. And every time you'd see somebody eating meat, it would be, do you know what it is when you eat the flesh of an animal? And then it was like, what? It's dead meat. So that, Walter was, he was a lot. When you talk about wrestling, you talk about presence and larger than life. When he stopped when he came in the room, kind of, everything stopped. I remember going to being an extra at WWE a few times where Walter had come. And everybody from, Vince McMahon to Shawn Michaels to John Cena to Triple H, who he trained, everybody, like, time would just stand still and stop when Walter came in the building, and everybody would come up and show their respect. Again, from Vince McMahon on down, would stop and give Walter time and thank him. And so that always just blew my mind. Here's this guy that I am lucky enough to spend all this time with, and then you see him and he's around the biggest names in wrestling, and yeah, they're like little kids with him. They're like enamored with him. So it was something. He just, he was somebody who really had a profound impact on, my career. And I'm just grateful that I got to spend so much time with him.
Yeah. So we're just going to go to some comments on Facebook and YouTube. So Kevin Rodriguez, who's a very good friend of mine and does his show, The War Room, every Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. He says, Brian, thank you for doing this and supporting small pages like us. Absolutely, Brian. We appreciate the time that yourself and your colleagues give us to come on and do these shows.
Yeah, man, it's a blast. I love it. I love talking wrestling.
Yeah, man. So Facebook user. So if you want to see your name come up on the screen like this and like this, you just need to click the link above to streamyard.com/Facebook and just allow StreamYard to grant access. But Facebook user, are you two wrestlers? I am not. This gentleman is. He's Brian Milonas. He is one of a Ring of Honor tag team known as the Bouncers with the Beer City Bruiser and on the NWA. If you don't know him, you will know him at the end of this. Keep watching, sunshine. So David Farmer says, kick ass. Thank you for watching, David. So obviously, like we talked about Killer Kowalski, but when did you get into pro wrestling as a fan? Like, when was it for you that was that moment where you just were like mesmerized with what you were watching?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has like that. I hear a lot of people talk about like, I saw this match or I saw that, and I don't really have that. I just don't ever remember not watching wrestling. My earliest memories are watching pro wrestling. I know my aunt, my aunt was really big into it, and I think some of it stemmed from her, and she got me into it. But I mean, I think it's like my third birthday where there's like pictures of me like opening up LJN figures, and it's just my entire life has centered around pro wrestling. I mean, I remember being pre-kindergarten age, opening up LJN figures, watching, here we have Ness in the New England Sports Network, and they used to show like Boston Garden house shows on there, and so seeing like, I mean, for whatever reason, this guy always sticks in my head, the Duke of Dorchester, Pete Doherty, he was this enhancement talent that was used a lot around here, and seeing him a lot. And I mean, I'm a Hulkamaniac. Hulk Hogan was my guy, and all the way from when I was 4 or 5 years old till, I guess probably till today, that was my guy, him, Randy Savage. That 80s era of wrestling is really where I fell in love with wrestling. And growing up in the part of the country I did, it really was about the WWF.
Yeah. And so you mentioned where you grew up. So where was it in the United States that you grew up from? Are you a city boy, country boy?
I mean, I guess I'm kind of a city boy, but it's a small city. I grew up in Manchester, New Hampshire. I still live in New Hampshire, so I'm a New England guy, a Boston guy, essentially. I'm like 45 minutes north of Boston. So that's that's where I think if you live in New England, with maybe the exception of like Maine, people are just like, oh, you're from Boston. Like, so Boston
accent, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's really pronounced and everybody notices it. I don't notice it on me though.
No, I don't notice on you it either. So Kevin Rodriguez said, if you ever find yourself in Georgia, first round's on him.
Awesome. So, yeah, we come to Ring of Honor comes to Atlanta a ton. So, geez, I think I flew through that damn Atlanta airport last year. Must have been 15 times.
Jeez, man.
The first 6 weeks of the year here, I think I was in Atlanta 3 different times. So
that's crazy. So your career, obviously, when you started, how long was the training process for you with Killer Kowalski? How long were you under his learning tree, so to speak?
Yeah, so I mean, I was a guy. It's funny, the way we ran our school was like, and I think some places run it differently, where it's like, oh, you train for 3 months or 6 months, and then you graduate and you leave. I went to class consistently 3 to 5 days a week for close to a decade. But I would say before I had my first match was probably, I want to say about 6 months in, somewhere in there. So I started training in November of 2001. I actually started training the day before my 20th birthday. So,
oh wow,
yeah, happy birthday.
That's crazy. And like, you know, once you got through that process, or you were training obviously for 10 years, but when you started to break out on the scene and the indies, how was that for you? You know, going down that road and obviously getting bookings. Was that hard for you? Was it easy? Like what was the process and how did you find it?
Well, I mean, it was such a different time than it is now. I mean, now guys can just you have your matches on YouTube and you're able to send them out and things like that. But it was so different. Again, 2001, you're talking about pre-YouTube, and really so. I mean, excuse me. The funny thing is 2001 WCW went out of business, ECW went out of business, and I said, hey, there's only one company around now. Boy, it's a shrinking industry. That's the industry I want to go into.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was. I mean, so I went to a school, the Kowalski School / Chaotic Training Center was affiliated with Chaotic Wrestling. So the goal really was to get on their shows. And then, with the guys before they're ready for the Chaotic shows, because the Chaotic shows had a lot of really, they're really good shows and a lot of really experienced, good workers were on them. So it was tough to crack their roster. So the old way of doing it was just you crammed in a car, you helped pay for gas, and you went to shows with guys who were already booked. And maybe you get a match, maybe you wouldn't. You'd go put up the ring, do the ring crew, do security if they needed it, and then if somebody no-showed or they added a match, you may get a match. And that's just kind of was. It was really word of mouth and just meeting people and networking. Again, very different than it is today, as far as just like you can just slide into DMs of different wrestling promotions and send them a link, and if they like you, they can book you. Where at that point it was you have to go to shows. If you're somebody who has matches under your belt, you bring them a VHS tape, and say, hey, will you watch this and get back to me? So it was so different. There's been such an evolution over the last 18, 19 years. Just the I'll say like the ease of doing business has improved exponentially.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what one of the things, like obviously leading into my next part is, professional wrestling today and professional wrestlers, the professionalism in the athletes is being seen more now than I think ever before. And, like I don't want to go down and talk about, wrestlers of the past or anything like that. But obviously, wrestlers from the 80s and 70s and stuff like that, they had financial problems, drug problems, alcohol. And there was also a period of time from wrestlers of the 90s where a lot of them were passing away, like at 36, 37, 33, under 40 years of age. There was quite a few wrestlers that were, because they lived that hardcore lifestyle. Whereas now you see a more professionalism, the wrestlers are taking care of themselves, their bodies. They're not putting that toxic in. They've, the wrestling promotions are making sure that they're on the straight and narrow, with wellness testing in the WWE, just the most well-known one. But how do you find the business after being in it for so long, how the evolution has been from the performers?
Yeah, I mean, the in-ring stuff the in-ring product has really changed. I think pretty drastically. I mean, you touched upon the lifestyle stuff, and it's crazy. I think the schedule for everybody is a lot lighter. I mean, with Ring of Honor, we're fortunate enough to usually only be on the road every other week. So it's there's a lot of time home with your family. You're not spending 7 days, actually these 7 days a week, these guys sometimes wouldn't be home for 70, 80 days, away from their families, living a hard life. But yeah, I think the in-ring product, what's funny is you look at, everybody talks about like Hulk Hogan, and they don't think he didn't do this really hardcore style, and he always gets really criticized for his work. Yet here's a guy who has like an artificial hip, an artificial knee. I think he may have an artificial shoulder. So for me, I think the athleticism is through the roof. I mean, you got guys. Probably the most physically impressive athlete I've ever been in the ring with is probably Keith Lee, who's 340 pounds and can just do these magnificent flips and everything, and they're all well within his athletic range. So I think that's a difference. But I also, I don't know there's going to be a lot of guys that have the longevity that, like, that guys of the past have had. I don't think there's a lot of guys that are going to have the longevity that I've been able to have, because I think the abuse on the bodies is so much greater now with some of the crazy bumps guys take, and with I mean, you think of the schedule in the 80s and how rough it was, but they also could perform in a style where they could protect their bodies a little bit. So the injuries and all that stuff, while they definitely would get injuries, most of it, most of their physical problems were accumulated from working 300 days out of the year, where now everything is televised, everything is streamed. So you can't have that quote unquote house show match. So, I've seen, I've been on shows with guys, and more so on the indies, I guess, than Ring of Honor. But you're on a show with a guy, and he's doing these crazy dives and bumps on his head and neck, 3-4 times every weekend, times however many weekends a month, times however many weekends a year. Your body only has so much in it, and it's not a matter of laziness, or it's not a matter of not wanting to put on a good show or work hard. It's just a matter of your body can only physically take so much. So I think while the in-ring style is impressive, I think careers are going to be a lot shorter for this generation than they were in past ones.
Yeah, look, I somewhat agree with you on that. There's some bumps I see watching, shows. I'm like, look, was that necessary? You know what I mean? Sometimes, yes, if it's a big blow off to a feud, then yeah, I can kind of see that. Now, I just like, for me, I think that, yeah, I can see that the careers are going to be shorter for some people. But I think you look at some of the top names in the wrestling business. You take Jay Lethal, for example. He's been around 15, nearly 20, probably around nearly the same time as you. And he's still going. You guys, like, you're still going as well, because I think that you and also guys like Jay Lethal and even your tag team partner, you guys wrestle a smart style. You wrestle to what your strengths are. And, like, obviously you being in a tag team, but also being a big man as well, if you were going up and wrestling a guy against my size and my height, like I'm 5'6" and probably 180 pounds, you know what I mean? Like, for me to put you on your back should never happen. You know what I mean? So those sort of things, it gives you that opportunity to have that little bit more of a longevity. Do you feel that in wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's times to take calculated risk. There are times where the big bump fits, where doing something risky, doing some hardcore stuff, things of that nature. Where it definitely fits. But then the bumps that I see that really, I mean, they just scare me from a standpoint is just the ones like the tight bumps on guys' necks. You see a lot of that today, where guys just take these really high bumps all the time, and high bump, high bump, high bump, high bump. And I'm like, this generation of wrestlers is going to have twice the amount of neck surgeries as any other generation. And it's just, again, you got one body, and part of pro wrestling is getting up the next day and doing it again, and getting up the next day and doing it again, and getting up the next day and doing it again. And if you're hurt, you can't make money. So I think, there's just got to be, a happy medium, and again, it's not a matter of like working hard, and I appreciate what these guys can do. I mean, some of these matches blow my mind. It's just, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but you mentioned the neck injuries as well. Look at Tommaso Ciampa. You know what I mean? Like, he almost lost his career with his neck injury, and he's a guy that you trained with and so forth. So, you're 100%, correct on that.
Yeah, Tommaso's a guy who has worked a pretty smart style. He takes calculated risks, but he's a guy who hasn't done a lot of the insane stuff that I've seen out there. And look how beat up he's been. But I will say this: I've never met a harder working human being in my entire life than Tommaso. His perseverance, his drive. Tommaso was a guy who was never going to take no for an answer. no matter what it took, no matter, you know, what he had to do to get there. He was never going to take no for an answer. But man, just all the injuries that he's fought through just is insane. But he's also realizes now, you know, he's being smart with his body. I think there was a report out there about he's not going to go to the main roster or whatever. And, you know, whatever that means at this point, they're all on TV. But, you know, boy, that guy is, again, the most hardworking, most determined human being I've ever met in my life.
So, Brian, we stream our show in some wrestling belt groups and a lot of wrestling belt fans. Myself, I'm a belt collector, and we have a question here from a member of the audience, Kevin Rodriguez. As a lifelong fan, do you have any favorite belt designs? Like what? Belt?
Yeah. You know, I think it's tough. It's a toss up for me. The two I really like are the like 80s style WWF tag team titles, and then the classic black strapped Intercontinental title from the same era. Yeah.
No, the Bulldog tag. I think you're referring to.
Yep, exactly. Those are beautiful belts. Those are beautiful. I don't know how you feel. I don't know what your favorite belt is, but I love those.
They are they're two of my favorites. For me, all-time favorite, some belts. I like unique. I've got a Combat Zone Wrestling replica belt. I got that because I'm a big CCW mark, as most people who watch this show know. But you know, I like, you know, the ECW replica belt. I thought that was pretty badass. You know, like the sort of scratch logo, the big eagle. You know, there's many nice belts out there, and if you want to get any belts, you know, our sponsor Mayan Belts will be happy to take care of you there, Brian. Just a shameless plug for that sponsor.
Yeah. You know, I think I might end up divorced if I start buying championship belts. I've started to buy action figures, so you know, just bought a house and, you know, want to slowly fill it with wrestling merchandise. We gotta pace ourselves though.
Yeah, no, I 100%. Like I wish I could have a lot more, and my wife was like, "Hold down there, big fella. Remember the exchange rate." So, I pulled back a little bit, but so Ring of Honor. How did you get involved in Ring of Honor? Was it someone specifically that brought you in there? Like obviously you mentioned guys like Ivar. That you train with. You know, you were also trained with Tommaso Ciampa, who was in Ring of Honor. Was there anyone else that, how did Ring of Honor really come to light?
Yes, I mean, funny, we started literally the same week in pro wrestling school. Todd Sinclair, you know, Todd Sinclair, who's the senior official. We literally started the same week pro wrestling school. So he was involved with Ring of Honor right from the get-go. But my history kind of, I guess, with Ring of Honor goes back a little further than people realize. I wrestled Delirious. It was on an indie show up in like Vermont. Made a positive impression. Got an opportunity to do a dark match with them. Matt Taven was in this dark match. This is back in like the HD net days. Like the Kings of Wrestling were still there. I think the main event of the show was the Kings of Wrestling versus the American Wolves. Yeah, so I mean that tells you what era. I mean, Kevin Steen was still there, El Generico was still there. So whatever happened, I didn't end up catching on then. And years later, it's funny. It was a conversation with Ivar, and he had told me, I knew Kevin Kelly was in Ring of Honor, but I'd kind of stopped trying to make it. I'd kind of resigned myself to, you know, I'm just going to be that local indie guy who just couldn't, you know, catch a break type thing. And I was pretty content with that at the time. And just having a conversation with Ivar, and he says, "Hey, Kevin Kelly asked about you, like if you were still working and this and that, and how you were doing." I was like, "Kevin Kelly?" Keep in mind, I had never met Kevin Kelly in my entire life. I don't know how he knew who I was or anything like that. I knew we had mutual friends, but I didn't. You know, it just floored me that he, you know, thought of me, and I knew he was, you know, he was involved with like talent relations and Ring of Honor. Long story long at this point, but I decided to do a tryout camp. And this was in, probably the end of 2015, maybe 2016, somewhere in there. Made a really positive impression. Ironically, the two who really the two kind of standouts of the camp, or three standouts of the camp, were myself, Josh Woods, and Chuckles the Clown, who is now with Vincent and the Righteous. So all of us now, full-time members of the roster. So I think I followed them around for like a year. I got some dark matches. And then I literally thought it was over. They hadn't called me in months. So this is like December of like 2017. I'd done the top prospect tournament early in 2017, then had some dark matches, but wasn't really catching on. So I thought like, well, that was cool, but there's probably nothing going to happen for me. When it was Todd Sinclair who called me and said, hey, can you come to TV in Philly? This is in December of 2017. He's like, I think we have something for you. And not like a dark match. He's like, I think we actually have something for you. And that was the idea to join Silas and Bruiser, because they just started the 6-man division and there wasn't really any trios. So I had a match with Kenny King where we jumped him after the match and formed. So it was it was a long road to get there. And even then, the first, the whole thing we were told was, and Bruiser and Silas were under contract, so they were set either way. I didn't have a contract that first year, and it was literally, we try this out. If it gets over, we go to the next show. We go to the next show. If it doesn't, and it's not working, then we're probably not going to use you. So, it went well for the first year, and they turned us babyface, and the crowd really started to take to us. And then last year, 2019, I finally had gotten signed to a contract. So that was, it was a couple year journey to go from like that camp to getting signed, but very cool. I owe a lot to, there's probably not, there's probably not, there's a lot of people who have done a lot for me in my career. But there's probably not anyone who's done more than Todd Sinclair for me. Whether it's just being a good friend, somebody I can talk to, advice, or advocating for me. There's probably nobody who's done more for me. So he's really, if I had to give somebody a lot of credit for me, even having the opportunity to get there, Todd did a lot for me to even be put in that position.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before I go on to my next question, I just want to welcome Kevin. Kevin is the host of the War Room. He does a very similar show to what I
Kevin.
do. Kevin's jumped on and he's showing you his IC title behind him, if that's the one you were talking about.
Yeah, I've been listening to the show. First off, Brian, huge fan. I love seeing you guys in Ring of Honor. I very much enjoyed what you guys did on the NWA. I'm a huge Ring of Honor fan. But that wouldn't happen to be the one you were talking about, was it?
Oh, that's it. That's the beauty. Now, I hated the white strap that they had for, I think Cody Rhodes had brought it back, and they stuck around for a while, but I hated it. I kept hoping they would just bring back the black strap.
Well, like I said, I was listening to the show. Piers, I'm a huge fan of your show. We're really good friends. Brian, I'm a huge fan of yours. And when Piers asked me to come on to show you that belt, when Piers Austin asks you to do something, you shut up and you do it. But like I said, trying to get my camera to flip around. Huge Ring of Honor fan. I love everything you guys are doing over there. So when he asked me to come on to show you the belt, I wanted to take this chance to tell you hello, tell you I'm a huge fan. Please keep doing what you guys are doing. Guys like me, guys like Piers, we love watching it. And, you got fans for life. And I really meant what I said. Next time you find yourself in Georgia, hit me up, and the first round's on me, man.
Hell yeah, man. Let's do it. Hopefully all this crazy quarantine stuff is over soon and we can get back to, having beers and having wrestling.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Piers, thank you for letting me come on and say hey to somebody I love watching, somebody that I'm a huge fan of. I got daddy duty. I got 4 kids here that need me. I just wanted to pop on, say hello, and show you the belt that you were talking about. Piers, thank you so much. Brian, I look forward to listening to the rest of the interview, and you guys have a good night.
Thanks, Kevin. Good talking to you.
Kevin. Thanks,
You
brother. Yeah, so it's Kevin's a great guy and obviously has a great collection and loves showing it off, but that's why I thought I could show you what he's got there. But anyway, so getting back to Ring of Honor and coming in with Silas and Bruiser, I really think you see that connection with you and with Bruiser, man. Like you just see it when you watch it. Your ring entrance, like I love the fact when you guys get introduced, coming from the bar, and like you both come down with like a pint of beer or a beer in hand. It's like, and I said this to Bruiser, you guys are kind of like, you're like the average dude, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. You're not the muscle bound, like jacked up dudes. Yeah. You're like the average, like, man, I like that's the thing. It's, your characters are believable, and your characters, like, I think really draw the audience in. You know what I mean? And to me, like, you're over like Rover.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's cool to be given that freedom from Ring of Honor to try. I think, Jesus, we had just turned babyface, so we had kind of a weird turn. I think we wrestled the Bullet Club in Philly, and Silas kind of just left us high and dry, and then we were babyfaces. So we were back in Philly not too much longer after that, weirdly enough. And we were just like, hey, what if we came from the bar? What if we just, they were like, yeah, hell, let's try it. So it's cool to work for a company where you can have that freedom to pitch things and try things and do things. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, and you definitely see that, like I said, that sort of bond that you have. How did you find working, obviously, with Silas and obviously and Bruiser in that that triple man team? And like I said, Silas, you can see he's that really good heel. You know what I mean? Like, and you guys, like, even then, like, you can see, like, you guys, I don't know, man, like, such strong babyface potential with a strong heel, and like that split. It was really well done. But how did you find working with Silas in that 3-man team?
I loved it. I thought we left a lot of the not that I'm not enjoying what we're doing, and I think you said it, like, we fit the mold really well for babyface team in Ring of Honor, but I think we just only scratched the surface of what we could have done with Silas. I think we could have done a lot of good things there, and for whatever reason they just kind of decided they wanted to go in a different direction, and and it worked out great. I think it's worked out for all of us. And ironically, Silas is, I guess, for all intents and purposes, a babyface now. But I think it was, I think we left a lot on the table there. I think we could have done a lot more with the three of us, especially when it concerns the 6-man tag titles and things like that. But it just didn't work out. But things happen for a reason, and them switching course and kind of putting us off in that other direction, I think really made things take off for us. I think 2019 was a really big year for us. We kind of, we started out as just, bottom of the rung sort of tag team. And by the end of the year, we were, wrestling the Briscoes. I think we wrestled the Briscoes 3 times and wrestled them for, it was really cool. I grew up in New Hampshire, but the majority of my career, most of my career matches happened in this city called Lowell, Massachusetts. And so to wrestle the Briscoes for the World Tag Team titles in Lowell, Mass, home away from home. My kids are in the audience. My wife is in the audience. My aunt and uncle are in the audience. My cousins there, friends, family, people who, fans who had literally watched me from the first day of my career on in the audience. It was really damn cool.
Yeah, and it would have been like a surreal moment to be able to go back there in front of all those family and friends on a card like a Ring of Honor card, competing against, arguably one of the best tag teams going around today.
I'm not going to argue that with them. Are you going to argue that with them? I'm not arguing with the Briscoes.
No, sir. No, sir. I am on the other side of the planet, and I'm not going to argue with Mark and Jay. But, I believe they are probably one of the best tag teams in the world today. Next to the Beer City Bruiser and Brian Milonas.
I wish, man, there are certain guys you step in the ring with, and, whether it's singles or teams, and you just realize, I think you have to be confident, and I'm fully confident of my ability in a professional wrestling ring, but you get in the ring with guys like that, or a guy like a Jay Lethal, and you're just like, man, these guys are on another planet. Like, these guys are just like another world good. like there's a reason why the Briscoe brothers are, maybe the best team in wrestling today, maybe the best tag team of this generation. Like there's a reason for that. And there are guys who really could go wherever they wanted to. I think it's pretty well documented that they've had opportunities to go elsewhere and have always chosen to stay with Ring of Honor. But yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about those guys. Like last year, doing a lot of interviews when like the Elite left, and everybody. I think every year it's Ring of Honor, the death of Ring of Honor. I think you just recycle the headline every January, February. The death of Ring of Honor is coming. The end is nigh. And I think I was saying in interviews at that point, like I looked around and I saw the Briscoe brothers still there, and I saw Jay Lethal still there, and I was like, yeah, we're going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine.
But that's the thing. Like, in order for a wrestling promotion to succeed, they must bring in new talent, and they must evolve talent. And that's obviously when creating a tag team like the Bouncers, which you guys, yes, you're a very popular babyface team in Ring of Honor, but you can also have that potential of really turning it to heel as well. And being two big, solid guys that can also move in the ring and have that style that you look at and this big man shouldn't move like that, and both of you guys are able to do that, and that speaks wonders for the athleticism of yourself, but also the partnership with Bruiser that you guys have to be able to both be able to perform at that level. That speaks wonders for obviously both of you as athletes, but also for Ring of Honor for seeing that potential there and putting you guys together.
Yeah, it's funny. Ironically, it was a match against each other where the idea kind of was first born out of it. Ironically, in that same building in Lowell, Massachusetts, we worked a singles match there, and that's where the idea was born. Was seeing us work together and the chemistry we had, wrestling against each other, and somebody said, man, these guys would be a hell of a tag team. It's the funny thing is when we were putting together our match, we were joking around about like, man, we'd be a hell of a tag team. It's funny. I think before we ever even knew we were going to ever team, Bruiser was one of the first, and the Ring. First of all, I want to say the Ring of Honor locker room is best pro wrestling locker room I have been in 19 years. So for all the bullshit that we had to listen to at the end of the year, everybody talking about what they thought they knew, the morale of the locker room, freaking nonsense. I mean, just nonsense. Yeah. This is the most tight-knit locker room I've ever been a part of. I can't tell you how many times where, it's all of us hanging out with each other, like literally the entire locker room hanging out with each other, having a few cold adult beverages and just having fun, shooting the shit, watching wrestling. So, but one of the guys, like right from the start that I gravitated to and we really hit it off from the start was the Bruiser. And this was long before, we ever knew we were going to be a tag team. So I think with us, it's everything you see is very genuine. Our chemistry is very real. He's legitimately one of my best friends in life. I talk to him every day. I probably talk to him more than I talk to my family. Man, we're just having a good time. This has been the most fun of my entire career, bar none. So I just can't, man. I can't wait till we can get back out there and start doing it again. It's only been like a week of this shit, and I'm already missing it.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. And I really feel for some of the independent wrestlers that aren't under contract to rely on that weekly that booking or bookings that are now suffering, and it's terrible, man. And wrestling, and the promotions are out there doing the best that they can to try and put content out. And I said it before, no one can bash any pro wrestling company for trying to put more content out, especially during this time, and trying to think outside the box. And there are a lot of promotions doing that. And even some indie promotions as well. So
I know, like I think was it GCW just put out some stuff the last couple nights. I mean, to each their own. I appreciate the guys going out there and working, and I appreciate the companies trying to entertain people. I will say, I don't know what's right. I don't know what's wrong. But being a dad, not wanting to take those risks. I'm really happy that I'm really happy to not be in the airports and not be in the arenas and to not have to go around large groups of people right now with everything going on. I certainly have, people in my life I wouldn't want to put at risk. But I do. Yeah, I think it's great, especially if it gives guys an opportunity to earn money, because that's tough. I think independent wrestlers, everybody's getting hit hard in this country right now when it comes to finances. So anything that gets, yeah.
In this country, it's worldwide at the moment.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's I don't even know how to quantify it in words at this point. It's the most unprecedented thing of my lifetime. I just hope it's, hopefully people start taking it seriously, and we can hopefully, people. I think what people need to realize is take it seriously. Because I definitely fell in the category of like, oh, what is this? This doesn't seem like a big deal. It seems like the flu. What's going on? Why is this so? And then when you see what's going on, it's like, man, we might have been behind the curve here, getting on board with the things we have to do to keep everyone safe. So hopefully more people get on board. Hopefully more people start doing the things they're supposed to do to keep safe, and we can curb the spread of this. And the faster we do that, the faster we'll be able to get back to, the way of life we all love.
Yeah, and that's exactly the thing. And hopefully it's not going to be too much longer. And like I said, it's you guys can get back to doing what you do best, and that's entertaining the masses, the crowds, the fans of Ring of Honor and NWA. Moving into now, I just mentioned NWA. You and Bruiser, or the Bouncers, I should say, debuted on NWA not too long ago. How did that, we know Ring of Honor and NWA have that working relationship. And I believe that's great. Any promotions that have those working relationships, you're only going to get to see better quality matches, more entertaining product. And that's what you're seeing, obviously, with that working relationship. How did you find to be the team to go over to NWA and start competing over there? Like, how was that presented, and when did that sort of come about for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it was, it came really quick. It was, what do we do that in January? Maybe time all runs together. So if my dates are off, then I apologize. But yeah, I mean, it was clear after the January Ring of Honor shows that we were working with the NWA again. So I want to say a couple days after that, maybe 4 or 5 days after that, started talking to Dave Lagana at the NWA. He had been talking to Ring of Honor office, and it was like, hey, they wanted to use Ring of Honor talent. They had a really cool spot for us. So, it worked out well. And I will say, man, that organization is run top, first class, top to bottom, from the first time they texted me till leaving the last day. Everything was just seamless and smooth and really easy. But it came together, through Ring of Honor and pretty easily, pretty quickly. So such a cool concept, such a cool product, such a cool experience. I mean, it's I thought it was going to be real weird at first. I got to admit, I'd been watching it and I loved it. I was like, this is fantastic. But then it's a little different when you're watching home on a TV screen than being a performer having to go do it. And then you get there and the crowd is so lively and so into it. And I was really glad we got to do a promo segment before we had to wrestle, because it kind of got me acclimated a little bit to it. Yeah. And but it's wild, man. It was a lot of fun. They got a really cool thing going on over there.
Yeah, no, they definitely do. And I got to ask this question, man. How was it to drink beer out of the Crockett Cup?
I was, I thank God coronavirus wasn't a thing at that point, man, because
exactly,
that was not a planned spot. That was a shoot, I guess. We were supposed to just go over and kind of, cheers to Eli and Storm. And Storm just got the bright idea to start pouring beers in the Crockett Cup. And that thing was heavy as hell, by the way. Yeah, and I mean, I couldn't not drink out of it, but the whole time thinking like, this is disgusting. And then talking to people afterwards, and they're like, yeah, that thing hasn't been, it's not like that thing's been washed. It's like, I think Dave Lagana said, that thing's been sitting in my garage since like last year. So, I'm like, oh, all right, well, if I get deathly ill, you know.
well, maybe that's why Eli Drake was smart enough to have his protein taken down and be like,
yeah, he was the smartest one, I think.
yeah, because he probably looked at it and went, son, that looks filthy as fuck.
Well, I mean, not to mention, it was just hard. I mean, it was heavy as hell to try to drink, and then you're trying to be like, well, I don't want to spill this because, right, you know, you can't. I don't know if you could see it in the camera shot. I don't remember, but there's like cords all over the floor right there. So I'm trying not to dump, 3 beers all over the cords that they're recording everything with, and man, but yeah, that was that was one of those like, well, I guess we're doing this.
Yeah, you know what? Seeing that, it's like that old school sport feeling. When you win a championship, you win like something like they all drink out of the trophy, so to speak. But so looking at your career, spanning over 19 years, what has been like probably the worst injury that you've sustained in that time, and how long did that injury put you out for?
Yeah, I mean, probably the worst singular injury was a few years ago. This is probably 4 or 5 years ago now, maybe like 4 years ago now. I came off I used to do like a whoopee cushion from the second rope, not from the top rope, like Toink the Clown did. But so I did it, and when I landed, I just tweaked my knee, and I heard like this huge pop, and I thought I blew out my knee. Couldn't stand. Went to the doctor, preliminary examination. They thought I had torn my ACL and my LCL from like just moving it around. So I was like, I thought my career was over at that point. And went to see an orthopedic surgeon like a week later, and it had improved so much to the point, and he felt it. He's like, well, I don't feel any instability. He's like, you definitely sprained it. So I guess, sprained ACL, sprained LCL was, fortunately the worst injury I've ever sustained. This, I was probably out for a good 4 or 5 months with that. It took a while to come back from that for sure. And it's funny when you first come back from injuries too. It's the mental hurdle more than anything. So I was like, just babied that thing, for months after that too. But I think for me, it's been more I have torn up knees. I have torn meniscus in both knees. I tore my bicep and pec, like up here, like there's supposed to be like a muscle like right here where I'm touching. There's no muscle there. It's torn. That happened a week before. Actually, it was like 2 days before I got the call from Todd Sinclair that Ring of Honor had something for me. So I put off even having it examined and just kind of strapped it up and went. Yeah. Most of my injuries are cumulative, though. I mean, the silver lining in all this time off, this next couple months off, is just going to be able to let my body heal up and do some seeing a chiropractor, doing some yoga, doing some stretching, doing some PT. That's hard to do when you're because I mean, in addition to working for Ring of Honor, in addition to working to NWA, I do the indies still. So it's almost every it's a constant thing. So to have this time off to let my body heal probably isn't the worst thing on earth right now. Yeah,
I can imagine it. And especially like all the bumps that you guys take and working as much as you guys that you do, it's probably silver lining for you. It's to be able to have that sort of recovery time as well, and for other wrestlers, athletes to have that recovery to really let their bodies rest up, which you might not have got if this hadn't happened. So just a question from one of our viewers, Lazar. What would be your dream match to have with the Bouncers against a current tag team and past tag team? So let me do that. Let's do it from any team, past or present, from any promotion in the world. You and the Bouncers. Who would you choose?
Oh, I mean, if you're going with the current team right now, I mean, I think I beg for it online constantly. I mean, the Gorillas of Destiny. I mean, we thought we were lining up to wrestle them, and then the Briscoes beat them for the tag titles. That's who we thought we were wrestling for the tag titles. But man, those guys are just so damn good. 2 more guys are just on like another level. And yeah, I mean, anybody who's active right now, I mean, those would be the guys. Those would absolutely, those would absolutely be the guys, the Gorillas of Destiny. I would love to be able to step in the ring with and have a match. That would be killer.
Oh, absolutely. And they're on top of their game as well right now. Promo wise, in ring wise, like Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. I'm big fans of them, and I'd love to see that match as well. I think that would be a really entertaining match. I could see it being a really heavy brawl as well with you guys and them. But yeah, New Japan Ring of Honor, book it. Please.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, I saw their matches with War Machine, who would be the Viking Raiders now, but that'd be another team that would be high on our list to wrestle those guys. It's funny. They again, I mean, Ivar's probably my closest friend in the wrestling business. We've been through it all together, and we were supposed to wrestle the War Machine in Ring of Honor, the Bouncers, and the night the night we were going to talk about that, and I knew going in, just because of my personal relationship. So but I just didn't say anything. But they were telling us we're going to wrestle these guys going forward, and I'm like, well, no, you're not, because they're giving their notice in Philly because they just signed with WWE. Oh. But so that would have been cool. But seeing their matches with God, I mean, those matches were fantastic. So I would love to wrestle those guys. I think we would tear the house down.
I think so as well, mate. But who would you choose from a past tag team?
Oh man. I mean, the like 8-year-old me would be like Demolition, But I think from a what I think the match could be standpoint, I think like the Rock and Roll Express versus the Bouncers would be. I mean, technically it could still happen, but I'm talking about like if we could take the Rock and Rolls in their prime and put them against us. I think that would be just the dynamic of big guys, little guys, cat and mouse type stuff we could do would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, looking back at wrestlers of like the tag teams that passed, I'd even say throw in there, like, I reckon it'd be a cool match. Brothers of Destruction.
Yeah, I mean, they would tower over us.
You know what? 4 big motherfuckers just going hard at it, bro. Like, god damn. Like, that's why everyone loves watching a UFC or a boxing fight where heavyweights are just like trading hands, man. Like, and like for you guys, ooh.
Yeah, a lot of heavy shots.
Oh, dude, it'll be massive. But look, we'll just hit the 1 hour mark. Brian, you've been good enough to give us your time. Now, before I let you go, we like to do a little game here, and I'm not sure if Bruce has given you the Iggy on this or not.
He did not.
He did not. So, have you ever been to Australia, Brian?
I have not yet. I would love to go. You guys got some terrifying creatures down there. I've seen some pictures of, but I would love to come to Australia at some point.
Well, I tell you what, when you guys come to Australia, you need to like hit me up. We'll go out. I'll take you to the best places. We'll go get some beers and get really, really fucking drunk. And we can watch wrestling. Hell, we can maybe even film the conversation.
Hell yeah.
Of us sitting here getting drunk. But anyway, to help you out when you do come to Australia, to lead this up, I'm going to go through some Australian slang words and phrases, and I want you to tell me what they mean. Okay?
Oh man. All right. We'll see how I do.
Brian, mate, want to come over to my place and drink some piss?
No, I don't. But maybe I do, because maybe that's slang for something good.
So, what do you think "drink some piss" means?
Drink some piss. I mean, is it drink some beer? Is it have some beers?
Beer or alcohol? Yeah. So
okay.
we say, "Oh, what are you up to on the weekend?" I'm going to get on the piss with my mates.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Bloody oath.
Bloody's a curse word, right? Bloody is.
No, I don't think it's a curse word. Bloody oath. All right. Let me put it in a phrase. Bloody oath. That was a good match.
Oh, is it? So like goddamn sort of thing, or like oh shit?
Yeah, like it's true. Like damn right. Like
okay.
Fuck yeah, whatever. Okay. Brian, that bloke over there is a dead set bogan.
Bloke. Bloke definitely sounds derogatory. That definitely sounds.
No, bloke. So that bloke over there is a bogan.
A bogan.
Like a bloke is a guy. Like I'd say, hey, what's up?
Oh, okay.
This guy's a bloke. But the word I want you to tell me what mean is what's a bogan?
A bogan. Is it a dummy? Like an idiot?
Well, no, it's a word used for people who are, well, let's say, rednecks. So
okay.
If I was a bogan, I would.
You have rednecks in Australia?
Yeah. Like if I was a bogan, I would probably talk like this. Yeah, mate, we're going to go down the pub and fucking, we're going to drink some beer and, we're going to catch up with good old Brian, and he's a larrikin of a bloke, that guy, mate. So, yeah, we're going to get on it, So they're real Aussie sort of like, Okay. I need to swing past the bottle-o.
Oh. Is that like the grocery store, maybe? No?
Come on, man.
No? The bathroom?
The liquor store, bro.
Oh.
They call
though in New Hampshire we call them liquor stores, but if you go a little south of Massachusetts, they call them the packy.
All right. So this word I'm going to kind of like, I know my show is uncensored, but I don't want to offend anyone. So the word see you next Tuesday.
Okay.
Right? You know what I'm talking about?
I do, yes.
So, all right. If I was to call someone, you bloody sick, see you next Tuesday, what would that actually mean? What am I saying? Would that be an insult or a compliment?
In Australia, I mean, if you're asking me this, I'm going to guess it's a compliment.
Yeah. So when we exchange pleasantries, like mainly with men, like between 20 and 35, 36, 37, we'll say, like, if I see my best mate, he'll call me, I'll go, hey, what's up, you sick? What's happening? You know what I mean? Like, sick. That's a thing of pleasantry. But it shows how ass backwards Australia is, because we're the only place in the world where we call our mates the C word, and then we call people we don't like mate. So if I was having an argument with you, I go, mate, you better watch it, mate. But if I saw you, Brian, and we're friends, I'm like, hey, what's up, Brian? Come here, you big MFC. That would be okay. So let's go to another one. Brian, make sure you pack the esky in the car. What's an esky?
Oh, you said what's to pack it in the car. I don't know. I have no clue what this even could be. Maybe is it something to change the tire? I don't know. That's just I know it's wrong, but I have no clue.
No, an esky is where you put your cold beer to keep cold. So like a cooler.
Okay.
We call it an esky. So you put ice and drinks and stuff in that. So we'll get to our last one. I'll tell you what, Brian, my missus has cracked the shits today.
Huh. She's gone crazy?
All right. She's cracked the shits.
Cracked the shits. I mean, it's probably not literal. I mean, she's not. This poor woman doesn't have diarrhea. I'm not thinking.
To literally take a shit, Brian.
I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue.
All right, let me put it to you like this, mate. I got home after having a few beers last night at about 1 a.m. I was home so late, mate. Oh, this morning, mate, my wife cracked the shits.
So hit the roof, got pissed.
Exactly, man.
Oh, all right.
I'll give you that point. You want me to do a couple more? You got
sure.
time?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Brian, mate, I'm buggered.
Tired?
Yep.
All right. Hey.
That's it. All right. Mate, my car's cactus.
Is it broken?
There you go, man.
All right. Hey, those were layups. I appreciate you giving me a couple of layups there to end strong with.
No, we that was a lot of fun. So Brian, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media and everywhere else?
Yeah, so I'm Brian at Brian Milonas on Twitter, on Instagram, Brian Milonas KP. And then if you want to pick up a T-shirt of the Bouncers or one of my personal T-shirts, BrianMilonas.com, which is my pro wrestling tee store. But you can find all sorts of T-shirts there. So yeah, that's where you can find me online. And I love interacting with people. I have a lot of time on my hands now. So if you ever wanted to talk to me or tweet at me or message me, now's probably the time to do it because I'll probably have time to respond.
That's awesome. Guys, thank you very much for watching this show. Brian, thanks for coming on. I'll get you to hold on a minute. I'm just going to give a quick shout out. I just want to thank Wrestling Maniacs, Brothers of the Belt, Wrestling Review Society, Generational Wrestling Society, love those wrestling belts, WCW Nation, Defend Deathmatch Wrestling International, and my good friend Michael Mados. Those groups allowing me to stream my product in their shows to make my audience all that much bigger for everyone to enjoy. Michael Mados, thank you very much for all that you do for the show by designing all of our cool posters and pictures. Also, just want to make a special thanks to our sponsors, Signal Studios. If you want to get something recorded, you want some music, if you're an independent wrestler or a professional wrestler, you want a new song, these guys can do it. Or even if you just want to get some music yourself made and you want to get into writing music or whatever you need, Signal Studios is the place to go. Mayan Belts, as I said, they are the best belt maker in the business today. In my opinion, they make a beautiful AEW belt, Smoking Skull. Anything they touch turns to gold, literally. And it's one of our, they are my favorite belt designers and makers. So make sure you go check out Mayan Belts. And lastly, but not least, my good friend Ashley Rodriguez, who is Kevin's wife that we had on earlier from A-Rock Designs. If you want cups, tumblers, hoodies, shirts, keychains, Ashley can do it all, and she does an amazing job. And, she does like wrestling related cups and stuff like that, Brian. So maybe you guys can hit her up. She can make like a bouncer's cup for you, like a beer drinking cup for you and Bruiser. So maybe hit her up, and the prices are very affordable for that as well. But guys, look, thank you so much for coming on, for being here, Brian. Thank you everyone for tuning in and watching this show. It's been my honor to sit here and present to you, and also to sit here and talk to Brian. So thank you very much to everyone.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, just give me 1 minute, Brian. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time.